boiler maintenance when it's almost 80 degrees? Unfortunately, it has come to that time of year again where I'm thinking about firing up the boiler, get the house a little warmer. Just before I shut it down last year, the pump was making some noise. So I just want to take the pump apart today and see if we've got an issue in the impellers or if I need to go into town and get a new pump. This is a Taco, I think it's an 007. When we first got this boiler in 2010, the original pump was a Taco 009, and that thing lasted for probably 6 or 7 years. No issues whatsoever. And since then, if I go and get another pump, this will be the fourth pump. This is the third. It'll be the fourth pump that I put on this thing. And I just can't believe, you know, it's like anything. Tires, when you buy a new car, you always get more tire or more wear out of the tires. You always get more wear out of the brakes. It seems like as soon as you replace something that came from the factory, it never lasts as long. Even if you put the parts on that came off of it, it just seems like they don't last nearly as long. And unfortunately, it's with anything. You know, it's not just cars. Pumps for boilers are no exception. Simple process. I guess I should have left those bolts on. Lesson learned. Done this enough times, you would think that I'd know that by now. But like I said, it's a simple process, just 4 bolts. Oh. Hold. All right. So like I was saying, it's a really simple process. It's just 4 bolts. And the flanges come off, and you can replace the pump. Taco makes a pump that's got a replaceable cartridge, and that's what was on this. And when I said that the first one lasted for a few years, I actually didn't replace the whole pump. I just replaced the replaceable cartridge, the impeller inside of it. And then that lasted, I think, 2 years. And that's when I decided to try something with a metal impeller. And it doesn't seem like these pumps with the non-replaceable impellers are lasting like the first one did. So I don't know if one's better than the other. Leave a comment if you're knowledgeable about pumps. I'm not. I mean, I know enough to replace them and how they generally work, but I don't know if one is inherently better than the other, and I just don't put the right one back on. So that's it. That's a circulating pump. So what this does, the boiler heats up. There's 325 gallons, I think, of water and a big jacket around the firebox. Firebox heats the water up. Water comes out through the circulating pump, goes into the house. There's a heat exchanger in the top of the furnace, like a radiator in a car. All that hot water circulates through that heat exchanger, and then when the house calls for heat, the blower kicks on, blows air across that hot heat exchanger, and that's the air, the warm air that gets circulated through the house. So I'm just going to take this pump apart and see if we've got a problem with the impellers or where the noise was coming from. To take the motor and separate it from the pump housing, there's just 4 socket head little bolts on the back side of the motor. You just loosen those up and take those 4 bolts out, and you're able to separate the pump housing from the motor. So like I said, this is a non-replaceable impeller. Taco makes a pump that's got a bigger disc, and the impellers are inside of the disc, and you can take the whole thing out and just put a new one in, and it's called the replaceable cartridge. I'm sure that I could probably buy parts for this one. I don't see anything. The impellers all look good, nothing's loose. I don't see anything inside the pump housing. I'm not quite sure what was making that noise. Now I'm led to believe that it was a motor noise. Oh, there we go. That made a difference. What was that? Did you guys hear the noise difference? Something's going on inside of that motor. That's exactly where my noise is coming from. I don't know if that's a bearing issue inside of the motor. I believe I'm buying a new pump. So if any of you watching know anything about electric motors, everything seems like it's running fine. Unplug it while it's inverted this way and there's no noise. Unplug it when it's inverted up and I'm dragging. So I don't know if there's supposed to be play in that. I know that it's a magnetic drive, but I don't know if I should have play. It doesn't seem to me like I should have play in the arbor, or excuse me, the armature. I don't have side to side play, I just have in and out play. I'm baffled. I wish I knew more about electric motors and armatures, but I just don't. So I think I'm going to go into town and buy a new pump so I can have heat today. And then, like I said, if you know anything about electric motors, leave a comment. Let me know what you think is or isn't wrong with it. And either I have a spare or if I should throw this in the trash. Has everybody heard the phrase, I know a guy? Well, I know a guy. Very, 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 very good friend of ours just stopped. And I got the motor taken a little bit more apart. This is a brushless motor design, and this is about as far as I can get this apart. So my noise problem is a bearing problem. And if it's not under load, it doesn't make any noise. And as soon as I put the armature under a load, we've got bearing noise. So I am going to go to town. I can replace this. This is a replaceable item. I found them online, but it's going to be 4 or 5 days before I get it. So unfortunately, I'm going to go into town and buy another one, and then possibly buy this part. So the reason that he stopped over was because last night, on her way to get pizza in town, a couple of deer decided to play Frogger in front of Kirsten. And unfortunately they lost, but so did the Equinox. So the reason our friend stopped over was because we needed another car. And I texted him with this picture this morning and said, hey, can I borrow a car? So what a blessing it is to have friends that you can just call on. I mean, I don't think of it every single day, and I really should, but it is just amazing. We have a handful of friends that collectively know everything. We've got a building guy, we've got a auto mechanic guy, we've got a machine guy, and they've got me for dumb labor, I guess. I don't know what they use me for. But what a blessing it is to have friends that you can just call on day or night and say, hey, I need this. And no questions asked, they just show up. It really is, it makes life so much easier. We don't have to, we've got another car. So, we could have gotten by, but, Kirsten and her friend are out of town right now, overnight. So I was going to be without a car. And so like right now I got to run into town and get that pump, and it's just easier now. I've just got a car. I can run into town. So I'm going to run into town and get that pump, and then we'll come back and get that installed and get the boiler going. All right. So we are a few hours later in the day. I'm back from town. We got our new pump. I'm just finishing up wiring in my power cord that I took off of the other pump. We'll get this buttoned up and we will get it back plumbed in to the boiler. I'm doing a video on getting the boiler going, and now I think when we pulled back in the driveway it was 78 degrees, but the house is still pretty chilly, which we can open up the windows, get it warmer in the house, but it's still going to cool down at night, and after tomorrow we're really cold. So I'll just get it going, and then when we need it, it'll be ready. So, all right, let's go plumb this back in. All right, the only difference between putting it back together from taking it apart are now I have to make sure that these seals stay. Actually, I'm going to do the top first. Make sure these gaskets stay where they're supposed to be. I am upside down. There's a little indicator arrow on which way the water goes. When you're tightening these flange bolts back up, you want to make sure that you tighten them the same on each side, because you don't want more pressure on your gaskets on one side than the other. Oop, gotta put the seal in. That's the one that's gonna give me fits. I think what I'm gonna do is go get a little dab of grease, put a little dab of grease on there so that it'll stay up in place. Ah, that is much better. All I did was took some grease, dabbed a little bit of grease on one side of it so that it sticks to the flange and stays in place while you get everything lined up. You don't want to crank these until you can't crank anymore, because this pump housing is cast and it'll snap under pressure. You just want to get them nice and snug. And if there is a leak, before you go and just tighten these bolts even harder, you want to make sure that there's not a problem with the gasket first. Because 9 times out of 10, the problem isn't a tightness problem, it's a gasket seat problem. So you just put a little more on each one of these and we'll open it up. That one's a little sticky. We'll see what we got. Now I might not necessarily get a leak without this pump running. So I'll go turn the boiler power on and turn the circulating pump on and see. There's no pressure in this. This is an open system, so it's just feeding it through the house and coming back in. And there's a vent up on top of the boiler, this right here. So the system's completely open. So there's no pressure. Oh, I do have a water leak. Well, let's see what we've got going on here. There's not even a gasket there. What happened? There it is right there. Did I not put the top one on? Huh. I'm gonna have to go back through and watch that video. I'm upside down. So there was the water leak. I didn't realize that I didn't put the camera back down. This seal right here was laying on the ground, and I'm gonna have to go back through and watch and see, did I not put it on or did it come off and then I didn't see it come off. I don't have a leak right now. I'm gonna go turn power on and turn the pump on. Okay, power to the boiler is back on. We're gonna plug our pump in. And we are moving water. I don't see any leaks. Once that gets up to temperature, I'll check it again and make sure. All right. And that is a pump replacement. So our particular boiler is a central boiler. It is a 5036. The firebox is 50 inches deep and 36 inches wide. We got this in 2010. We installed this, and we haven't looked back at propane since. We absolutely love this boiler. Everything's outside. The house is, she can have it any temperature that she wants, and the only drawback to raising the temperature is feeding the fire more. We feed this now, if we keep the house at 72, we feed this in the morning and at night, and that's it. Unless it's, you know, the rare occasion that we get down 10, 20 below, feeding it at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and again at 7, 8 o'clock at night, it's all we need. So we're just gonna let this come up to temperature. It takes probably, the water is 55 degrees right now, and the damper in the door will come on, and it's set to go off at 185 degrees. It'll take probably 3.5 hours to get the water up to 185 degrees. One of the other things that I didn't mention earlier was we heat our domestic hot water with this as well. It's an electric water heater, but once the boiler's going, I turn that breaker off, and there's a water-to-water heat exchanger on the side of the water heater. The hot water goes around a pipe that's in the center of it. The water in the water heater is in the center pipe, and the hot water from the boiler is around it in a jacket. It's just a continual flow through, and it heats up the water in our water heater, and that's how we heat our domestic hot water in the wintertime. But I absolutely love this boiler. This is the least efficient model that they make. I don't even know if you can get an inefficient model anymore that doesn't have a blower on the door that comes on when the draft opens. And you can get on the internet and see all sorts of different kinds. We chose this at the time. There was only probably 3 or 4 really big names on the commercial market, and I'm glad that we went with this one. I don't know that I would have had a hard time or a bad experience with another brand, but I can't speak highly enough of Central Boiler. It's a great product. Other than the pump, which is nothing to do with Central Boiler, there are a number of different circulation pump manufacturers that you can go with. It just happened when we bought this, the place that we bought it from had Taco pumps in stock. That's what they supplied when you bought the system. But I can't say enough about how well it is. Some of them on the market that I don't understand why. This doesn't use any water. I'm sorry, it's full of water, but it doesn't go through any water. The water that's in there is what stays in there. We'll go 2 or 3 seasons without adding a drop of water to it. It's got a little sight glass right here, your water level. I'm up, it's not even hot, and I'm already up to the recommended water level. But I've seen some on the market that have, you connect a water line to them and there's a float in there with a float valve, and when the water gets down too low, the float valve kicks on, the hose opens up, and it fills back up to the water level, and the float valve closes. And I don't understand why one company can make a system, and this is an open system like I showed you, it's just got a vent on top. I do know that that's a patented vent, so I don't know if the way the condensation builds up in the vent and comes back down the tube is a proprietary thing, and that's why the water doesn't evaporate out of the vent. I'm not sure. I'm sure that has a lot to do with it, but again, it doesn't use any water. I shut this off in the spring. I cleaned it out, scraped it out, but I did not add water to it. It sat here all summer long doing absolutely nothing, and I just checked it, and it's up to level. It'll come up just a little bit as the temperature rises, water expands. But yeah, I can't say enough about it. It's been a great addition for our heat. The only problem that we have right now is it is our only heat. We don't have a supplemental backup. The heat that we replaced was a propane forced air furnace. I just disconnected the propane, ran the circuit for the blower motor to the thermostat. So instead of the entire system calling for ignition and gas and then blower, I just tied the blower circuit itself into the thermostat. And when the house calls for heat, it just turns the blower on and blows air across that heat exchanger that's in the top of the furnace. So we didn't go from having supplemental heat to not having it. We've never had supplemental heat. The problem we run into is if we want to go away, we got to have somebody tend the fire for us. And it's not such a bad process for that person, because we can turn the temperature down to 55, 60 degrees, and the boiler only needs to be fed once a day. I just want to take a second and go back. I said that this was the most inefficient model, and that's not exactly what I mean. This particular stove boiler is the most inefficient line that Central Boiler had. I don't believe, don't quote me, you can look up Central Boiler on the internet. They have extremely efficient boilers, gasification and reburn, and they've got bypass valves, so when you open the door, you don't get all that smoke in your face. So they're extremely efficient. I just meant this particular stove was the least efficient in this line at the time that we bought it. All right, everybody, I think that's going to do it for today. As always, thank you. We really appreciate you watching. If you like what we're doing, please hit the like and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you guys next time.